Is it irrational to speak about the Bible if you don't believe in it? To answer that question, let's talk a little about its history. First, is it irrational to want a Bible in your native language? Because according to churches in the Middle Ages, that went against biblical teachings. Common people could not and should not understand the scriptures, as only religious leaders supposedly had the correct understanding. It was argued that the Bible should remain in Latin, a sacred language, though ironically, the Bible was not originally written in Latin, and translating it would cause it to lose its sanctity. But wasn't there, in this prohibition, an attempt to control people and prevent them from questioning the power of religious leaders? Although this doctrine of keeping the Bible in Latin wasn't biblical, religious leaders defended it. Those who challenged it were excommunicated, persecuted, or, in extreme cases, burned at the stake. However, figures like John Wycliffe, William Tyndale, John Huss, and Martin Luther fought to make the Bible accessible to everyone. Today, most consider it irrational to view Latin as a sacred language, but centuries ago, that was the correct understanding of the Bible. Let's examine other examples in history. For centuries, the church persecuted scientists who questioned beliefs supposedly based on the Bible. Galileo Galilei, for example, was arrested for defending the heliocentric theory, the idea that the Earth orbits the Sun, contradicting the thinking of the time, which held that the Sun revolved around the Earth. Giordano Bruno was burned at the stake for theorizing that the universe was infinite and that stars were suns similar to ours, again conflicting with their religious view. Miguel Servet, a physician and scholar, was the first to describe pulmonary circulation, but due to his ideas contrary to the Bible, he was arrested and executed. We could mention others like Copernicus, Kepler, and Descartes, whose theories faced rejection and persecution. These pioneers didn't believe in what the religious doctrines of their time said, and thanks to their work, they changed the perspective of an entire era. Today, it's no longer upheld that the Bible supports geocentrism or other now outdated scientific ideas. It's interesting how, rather than adjusting knowledge to the Bible, the interpretation of the Bible has adjusted to knowledge. Was it irrational for these men to challenge the common understanding of the Bible? Or was it their irrationality that enabled progress benefiting humanity? I know it's difficult to hear different perspectives on topics as deep as religious beliefs. I don't compare myself to the great thinkers of history, but I believe that thanks to people like them who challenge common thought, we can now question and learn. Although many of the ideas we take for granted today contradicted biblical interpretations of the past, we don't adjust our knowledge to the Bible. Rather, in Christian circles, biblical understanding has been adapted to reality. You can say that the Bible wasn't wrong. Rather, it was the interpretation that the people of that era had. Today, approximately 31% of the human population identifies as Christian, 2.4 billion people, divided into more than 40,000 different denominations that practice their faith in various ways with their own interpretation. How many of these individuals have actually read their entire Bible carefully? Not just the beautiful parts that are repeated over and over, or do they simply follow what the leading religious figure is telling them? Just as Christians did in past eras. How many know what happened to Lot after Sodom and Gomorrah? What happened to the virgin women of the towns Israel defeated? How harshly did God allow the Israelites to beat their slaves? Do they know that God deceived opposing nations with lies? That Paul encouraged Christians to serve happily as slaves, not in the figurative sense, even if they were mistreated by their masters? In my videos, I don't make anything up. I show verses that anyone can verify. If you find reasoning that counters my points, presenting evidence in the Bible, I'd love to debate. My main goal isn't for people to stop believing in the Bible completely. It has some very good lessons. If my videos make you leave Christianity, perhaps there were already previous doubts. My intention is to inspire you to reflect and question. Why do you believe it's the Word of God? Have you verified it for yourself? Today, we have the freedom to verify everything that is told to us. We shouldn't blindly follow what anyone says, as the generations of the past did, regardless of who is trying to lead you. Paul praised the Bereans because they examined the scriptures every day to see if what they were told was true. Acts 17:11. In my opinion, we should all follow their example on any topic. Never stop asking why, because the only irrational people are those who limit their learning, close themselves off with what they think they already know, and stop growing.